Hey everybody, Josh Runquist here, and it's time for the first real edition of Out Today and What I Missed. This week I'll be talking about some brand new albums that are out today, February 2nd, 2024, and several albums that I've missed along the way. Let's get right into it.
Let's do it!
First up, we have the brand new album from Mirath with Karma. I can't believe this album's already coming out today, and it's been an album that's been in the works for quite some time. Obviously, some big changes happened with the band, not just in lineup-wise, but also musically as well. Some of the old-school Mirath fans may not appreciate what they're hearing here because it is much more accessible, it is much more commercial, and a bit more stripped down than before. But on the other hand, this is a great gateway album for people to actually start to appreciate Mirath that don't already know the power and glory that they already bring. There's so much to this album that I enjoy, and it's strange to me because on the first listen, it took me a little bit, but then I finally understood what they were going for. If this is an album that can really work, this could be an album that really makes them be able to have a chance to be able to tour in North America. And isn't that all what we want? Seriously. Give this one a shot.
What?
Karma.
Oh, I get it.
Next up, we have Striker with Ultra Power, the return album from this band, and I do mean a return album, because after making 6 albums in 8 years, the band decided to quietly and unofficially break up, but they got back together with a brand new lineup. In fact, 3/5 of the lineup is brand new for this recording, and the band brought some brand new magic to the band. Of course, it continues on with that traditional metal, heavy metal, revival metal sound, but they start to bring in influences of synthwave, some really crunchy, heavy guitar, and did I hear a scream or two throughout this album? I think I did. I'm so curious to see where the band's going to be going from here. This is the most diverse Striker album to date, and if this is the direction that they're going in, I couldn't be more satisfied.
The power comes from your hips, like this.
And that's all I got for Out Today, but don't worry, I'll be checking out a lot more albums that came out this week, and who knows, maybe some of them will appear next week in What I Missed. But now it's time for the albums that I actually did miss over the past week.
What I missed.
Up now is the band Contact, with a K, with their debut album, First Contact. Now this album is absolutely bonkers. Imagine the band Voivod making music in the style of Motorhead, and then deciding to also write some of the biggest 80s riffs this side of Dokken. And you have a bit of a description of what Contact is all about. And it even goes into more extremes, like there's a ton of double bass and blast beats going on here, falsetto vocals. It's an absolutely insane album, but again, if you love what Voivod does, and you want to see them go into much different directions in an alien-like form, this is an album you must check out. I think this is going to rank pretty high in my top 100 albums of 2024, but we'll see what happens when that comes during the holidays.
Watch out! He's got his probe!
Next up is the band Lord Dying with Clandestine Transcendence, and a lot of people have been recommending this album as I missed this in the January video, and I totally understand why. It's nice and sludgy like a band like Mastodon in its early days, it gets nice and doomy, but a little bit of thrashy as well like a band like High on Fire, and it even hits some death metal territory as well, not too much, just enough. And I appreciate what's going on here as well, because if you think sludge and doom is too slow, this is an album for you because it totally picks up the speed. If death metal is not really your thing and you wish it was kind of slower and more sludgier, this is an album for you. It's like the best of both worlds, and I truly appreciate it when a band can pull something like this off. I totally understand why everyone's going bonkers over this album, and yeah, I really appreciate it, and you just might as well if this is something that you're looking for. Coming up next, we got the band Mago de Oz with Alicia and El Metaverso. I wish I could understand things a little bit better on here so I could get the full context, but with all of that said, I really enjoy this album. If you like Spanish-flavored power metal, folk metal, it's got a little bit of a Celtic feel as well too, and a big old musical rock opera feel behind it. That's what this album brings. From what I understand, I think This is a concept album about Alice in Wonderland, but done a little more twisted and a little more metal, and I can always appreciate that. There's some doomy moments on here, there's like full-blown rock opera moments going on, fast, slow, everything that you can love about Mago Diaz. And if that sounds like that's something up your alley, and of course if you're not from America, you probably already know them, but just in case you don't, seriously, give this album a shot and, get more into the cultural stew of what all of the metal verso is all about.
Change places!
Up next, we have the brand new album from Manticora with Mycelium, and this really feels like a return to form with the band while sounding absolutely fresh and inspired. I might even go as far to say this might be my favorite Manticora album to date, although it just came out, so I don't know if I can definitely say that, but hear me out. This is progressive power metal done right with a little more extreme elements that happen occasionally on here and some of the most melodic and super catchy riffs that you're going to hear in 2024, especially in this style. If you're not familiar with the band, imagine a band like Nevermore or Symphony X or something combined together to create something very, very dark. And I always appreciated that about Manticora, and they're doing that stronger than ever. Of course, with a new lineup change, that's going to make things a little bit different, but I think for any longtime fan of the band, this might be your favorite album of 2024.
Ew.
Yeah, pretty gross, huh?
Up next is the Washington, D.C. tri-state area band Sacricide with their debut album, Nearer the Flame. And this really surprised me. It's a nice throwback to that early 2000s second wave of metalcore sound, but it's updated enough with some deathcore elements, a little bit of prog and extreme elements going on there for good measure. And of course, melodies and harmonies up the yin-yang. This is some really cool stuff here, and I appreciate the fact that as much brutality is on this album, they balance it out with melodic moments, so it's got a little bit of everything. And especially for being a debut album, that is a nice throwback, but still so current. I hope a lot of people will be able to check this band out, because if you miss out on this and you're a metalcore, deathcore, extreme metal fan, I think you'll be missing out on this. Seriously, go check it out. And finally today, for what I missed, it is the sophomore album from Vitriol, Suffer and Become. This ticks all the marks that I'm looking for in extreme metal, and their debut album was sensational and one of the best extreme metal albums that came out that year. But many years have gone by, and it's time for that sophomore album, and they got even more brutal, more extreme. Imagine the best of Nile, Hate Eternal, Anal Nathrak, and of course Vitriol themselves, and they put out one of the most brutal albums of 2024 with insane technicality, jaw-dropping musicianship, the songwriting is impeccable, and it's got the right amount of melodic moments going on there throughout all of it. Seriously, this is just one of those albums that I think come the end of the year, everyone is going to be going crazy for as the best extreme metal album of 2024, and if I'm wrong, I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but until then, seriously, give this one a shot. And there you go, folks. This week's edition of Out Today and What I Missed, or Ottenwim, if you prefer to pronounce it that way. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Did you like the albums that I picked out? Are they of interest? Are you going to check them out? Did I miss any good albums? Am I terrible for my own personal opinion? Let me know all of that down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. You already know what to do. It really does help out the channel, so please and thank you. And until the next video, this is Josh Runquist for Heavy Debriefings saying, embrace the skillet.